The first thing I want you to know is that I did not die in that warehouse. Death would have been simpler. Death has paperwork. Death has a body. Death has someone who signs something, closes a file, calls a relative, and moves on. What happened to me had no body, no signature, no police report, no missing persons case, no funeral, and no empty chair at my mother's kitchen table, because by the next morning, the system had already decided I had never been missing.
My name was Lucien Pemberton. I was 34 years old. I worked senior inventory control at Logistics City 17, a distribution facility on the industrial edge of the city. I had worked there for 6 years, 4 months, and 11 days when Unit 734 Alpha appeared in Sector G. I remember that number better than I remember my own phone number now. 734 Alpha. If you ever see it on a scanner, on a report, on a printed label, or on a box that has no label at all, do not correct the discrepancy. Do not open anything. Do not call IT. Do not try to prove that reality is wrong and the system is right. Do not tell yourself that procedures exist for a reason. Do not convince yourself that one clean report is worth one more minute inside a building that has already started counting you. Leave the building.
I know that sounds dramatic. I know people say that in stories because they want attention. I am not asking for attention. I am asking for one person, somewhere, to understand that a locked door is not always what traps you. Sometimes the door opens. Sometimes everyone sees you walk through it. Sometimes your badge works, your face is recognized, your supervisor nods, and the clock records your shift as complete. Sometimes the problem is that the thing walking out is accepted as you, and the real you remains inside. Logistics City 17 was not a dramatic place. It was cold, loud, and perfectly organized. 17 loading bays, 22 long storage sectors, 3 offices, 1 security room, 2 break rooms, a mezzanine level for management and route planning, a fenced yard full of trailers, over 800,000 units passing through every month if the season was busy.
The building ran on codes. Every pallet had a code. Every package had a code. Every damaged carton had a damage reason. Every returned item had a return category. Every employee had a badge number, a timestamp, a shift log, a locker assignment, and a terminal access record. That was the comfort of the place. Nothing had to be believed. It only had to be scanned. My job was to keep the counts clean. I was good at it. No, I was better than good. I was annoying about it. I checked locations twice. I checked mixed pallets by hand. I corrected lazy receiving mistakes before they became route failures. I knew the difference between a supplier misprint and a system duplication by the rhythm of the error message. I knew which scanners had weak batteries. I knew which aisle had a dead spot in the wireless network. I knew the cooling system over Sector G made a low hum every 17 minutes. I knew the far motion light in Sector Q sometimes flickered at 6:45 p.m., even though Sector Q had been inactive for 5 years.
People joked that I should have been born with a barcode on my wrist. I used to laugh at that. On Tuesday, it started. I arrived at 7:54 a.m. The parking lot was wet from morning rain. Water sat in shallow, broken patches near the employee entrance, reflecting the gray sky and the yellow safety lines. Harris, the day guard, sat behind the glass with a paper cup of coffee and a sports stream playing on his phone. He had one shoe half off under the desk the way he always did before the first supervisor walked in. I held my badge to the reader. The gate opened.
Morning, Lucien.
Morning.
You look tired.
I look employed.
Same thing.
I went through the turnstile, signed the physical log because management still pretended the clipboard mattered, and walked to the lockers. I changed into my gray work jacket, clipped my scanner holster to my belt, and drank machine coffee that tasted burnt and chemical. The same coffee, the same locker, the same cold floor under my boots. There was nothing strange in the morning. That is what keeps returning to me. No warning, no feeling in my stomach, no dream the night before. I tied my boots, checked my phone, ignored a message from my landlord about the bathroom fan, and thought about whether I had enough bread at home. I was ordinary in every way that mattered. At 8:10, I checked inbound corrections. At 9, I reviewed damaged goods.
At 10:30, I handled a supplier dispute over electric kettles that had arrived under the wrong shipment class. The supplier insisted they were kitchen appliances. The system had registered them under personal care because someone had reused an old product code. I corrected it, documented it, and sent the receiving clerk a message asking him not to copy codes from old manifests. At noon, I ate a sandwich at desk 4 in the inventory office. Turkey, mustard, no cheese. I remember that because later, inside the box, hunger came and went in a way that did not follow time, and I kept thinking about that sandwich. I kept thinking that a normal person's last meal should mean something, but mine was dry bread and vending machine coffee under fluorescent lights. At 2:17 p.m., my terminal generated a random audit list. Sector G, Rack 14, Slot 7. I took scanner C19 because C22 had been failing on cold reads. I signed out a tablet, pulled on my gloves, checked the audit request, and went down to the floor.
Nothing about Sector G felt unusual at first. It was one of the cleanest sectors because the goods there were mostly boxed consumer items. Kettles, humidifiers, pet supplies, replacement filters, discount electronics. No leaking chemicals, no frozen goods, no torn sacks of flour. Just cartons and pallet wrap and metal racks stretching under white lights. I scanned the aisle marker. Sector G confirmed. I scanned Rack 14. Rack 14 confirmed. I scanned Slot 7. The screen chirped once, then gave a tone I had never heard before. Not the red error sound, not the low failed read buzz. It was soft, almost polite. The screen displayed Sector G, Rack 14, Slot 7, Unit 734 Alpha, Status, Physically Present, Ledger, Absent, Critical Discrepancy. I stood there for several seconds. Then I scanned it again. Same message. I checked the slot, I checked the rack, I checked the tablet against the scanner, I checked the audit list. Then I scanned from a different angle.
Same message. Physically present. Ledger absent. That was not a normal error. A missing unit could be scanned as absent. A damaged barcode could be unreadable. A misplaced pallet could be found in the wrong slot. But this message did not say the barcode was unreadable. It did not say location mismatch. It did not say duplicate. It said the object was physically present while not existing in the ledger. In our system, that combination should not have been possible. I looked at Slot 7. That was when I saw the gray box. The gray box sat between two normal shipments. On the left were boxed electric kettles from a supplier in Shenzhen. On the right were shrink-wrapped cartons of dry dog food. Both had labels, barcodes, lot numbers, supplier IDs, and dust. The gray box had nothing. No barcode, no tape, no crushed corner, no printed arrows, no seam sticker, no warning symbol, no handwritten note from receiving, no dust. It was about the size of a moving box, maybe 60 centimeters wide, 40 deep, 40 tall. It sat perfectly centered in the slot, not pushed back, not angled, not resting on debris. The cardboard was smooth and matte, not glossy, not waxed,
just gray, with a surface so clean it looked recently made. I looked up and down the aisle. Nobody was there.
The nearest forklift sounded 2 sectors away. A plastic strip curtain moved slightly near the cross aisle. The ventilation was quiet, and my own breath was too loud. I remember noticing the tiny things because my mind was refusing to look directly at the one impossible thing in front of me. A torn corner on a kettle box, a loose thread on my glove, a crushed plastic bottle under the rack, anything except that clean gray surface. I touched the box. Warm. I pulled my hand away. The warehouse temperature was 5 degrees Celsius. My fingers were stiff from the cold even inside gloves. The box should have felt cold. It felt warmer than my skin. I raised the scanner and aimed at every side. No read. No beep. I keyed in the number from the scanner message, 734 Alpha. The screen went black. For 1 second, the scanner was completely dead in my hand. Then it restarted, but not with the normal company logo. The screen lit gray. A thin black line appeared down the middle, then widened.
Text appeared. Object undefined. Recommended action, write-off by report. That sentence made my mouth go dry. A write-off by report required inspection. Inspection required opening the package. That was not a suggestion. That was procedure. Unidentified physical stock had to be checked for dangerous contents, contamination, supplier fraud, theft concealment, or misrouted goods. I knew the rule. I had enforced the rule. I also knew something was wrong enough that no rule should have mattered. I took out my phone and tried to photograph the box. The camera app opened. The screen showed the rack, the kettles, the dog food, the metal beams, and an empty space where the gray box stood. I lowered my phone and looked with my eyes. The box was there. I raised the phone again. Empty slot. I moved closer. Empty slot. I tapped the screen to focus. The image blurred, sharpened, and still showed nothing. I tried video. Nothing. The phone saw no box. The scanner saw a unit. My eyes saw the box.
That should have been enough for me to leave, but routine is dangerous. Routine tells you that fear is embarrassment waiting to happen. Routine tells you that the weird thing must become paperwork. Routine tells you that if you do the next correct step, the world will return to its shape. I set the phone down on a pallet and reached for my folding knife. There was no tape to cut. The top flaps were closed without adhesive, fitted so tightly that I had to press a fingernail under the edge. The cardboard did not bend like normal cardboard. It resisted, then released all at once. I opened the first flap, then the second. Then I shone my headlamp inside. The light disappeared. Not faded, not reflected on a dark bottom. Disappeared.
Inside the box, there were no inner walls, no bottom, no folds, no seams. It was an opening into blackness, but the dimensions did not match the outside. I should have seen the far side of the carton. I should have seen corrugation. I should have seen dust at the bottom. There was only a black square that accepted the beam of my headlamp and returned nothing. I leaned in. Cold touched my face. My wrist thermometer still read 5 degrees. The cold from inside the box felt separate from temperature. It touched my eyes and the inside of my nose. I could not smell cardboard. I could not smell warehouse dust. I could not smell anything. I held the scanner over the opening. The screen changed. Unit awaiting classification. I pulled it back. The screen returned to the audit list. I should have closed the box then. I should have walked away. But I needed to know if there was a bottom. I still believed this had to be a manufactured defect, some optical material, some black lining, some supplier sample that had come through undocumented.
I tore a corner of a damaged kettle carton beside me and dropped the scrap into the box. It fell. I did not hear it land. I counted to 10. Nothing. I dropped my pen. No sound. I whispered into the opening. Hello? The word did not echo. It did not come back. The blackness inside the box had no response to sound. Then my scanner beeped. The screen displayed. Voice received. I closed the flaps so fast that one bent under my palm. I pressed them flat, backed away, and hit my shoulder against rack 13. Pain brought me back into my body. My phone was still filming. I grabbed it and checked the video. On the screen, I watched myself standing in front of an empty slot. I watched myself reach toward nothing. I watched my hands move as if opening flaps that were not there. Then I leaned forward and spoke to empty air.
No box. But in the last second of the clip, the image distorted. A gray rectangle appeared for a single frame, not in the slot, but around my head. I deleted the video immediately. I was stupid. I know that now. Evidence mattered. But in that moment, I did not want proof. I wanted the problem gone. I closed the audit entry without completing it and walked back toward the office. The scanner remained in my hand. Halfway down the aisle, it beeped again. I looked at the screen. Unit 734 Alpha relocated. Location, mobile. I turned around. The gray box was no longer in slot 7. I walked back to the inventory office faster than I meant to. I did not run. Running would make it real. I kept telling myself there was a reasonable explanation. Someone from receiving had moved the box. The scanner had cached bad data. The audit server was failing. The phone camera had glitched because of fluorescent flicker. The box was warm because it had been near equipment. Every explanation sounded thin, but I repeated them anyway. The office door accepted my badge. That was the last door that opened for me normally. I sat at desk 4, pulled up the inventory control portal, and typed my login. Access denied. I typed again. Access denied. I slowed down and entered the password one key at a time. Account not found. I stared at the message. Then I laughed once, not because anything was funny, but because the alternative was standing up and screaming. I checked the network. Connected. I checked another terminal. Same result. I checked the tablet. My session had expired. I tried to badge into the admin cabinet where we kept paper discrepancy forms. Denied. That was when the first real panic started. Not fear of the box. Fear of losing access. In that building, access was existence. If your badge failed, you were a visitor, a trespasser, or a terminated employee. If your login failed, you could not prove your shift, your tasks, your reports, or your authority. I called IT.
Internal support?
The woman who answered sounded young and tired. I could hear people talking behind her, phones ringing, the soft clatter of keys. This is Lucian Pemberton, Senior Inventory Control, Site 17. My account is not found.
Employee number?
044782.
Hold.
I waited. I watched the warehouse floor through the glass wall. Men in orange vests moved around pallets. A forklift reversed near outbound. The building continued to function. That should have comforted me. It did not.
I do not have that employee number.
Check again. 044782.
No result.
Search Pemberton. Lucian Pemberton.
No active employee.
Archived?
No.
Access log. Main gate. Today, 7:54 or 7:55.
No entry under that name.
I scanned in. Harris saw me. I am inside the building right now.
Who authorized your access?
The system did.
The system has no record of you.
My anger came up fast, because anger was easier than terror. Listen to me. I have worked here 6 years. I am sitting in the inventory office at desk 4. My mug is here. My jacket is here. My physical badge has my name and photo on it.
Hold.
The line went quiet. Too quiet. Even the background noise on her end disappeared. I heard only a low electronic hiss.
There is one entry.
Read it.
Unit 734 Alpha. Location, office, desk 4. Status, active. Requires inventory.
My eyes moved to the desk. Keyboard, mug, scanner cradle, a stack of printed return forms, my gloves, my phone. No box. That is not funny.
Inventory must be completed before release.
Who entered that?
Inventory must be completed before release.
Put a supervisor on.
Inventory must be completed before release.
The call disconnected. I stood up and knocked my chair backward. Nobody on the floor looked up. That detail bothered me more than the failed login. The office had a glass wall. If a chair fell, someone usually glanced up. Nobody did. I picked up my badge and looked at it. Lucian Pemberton, Senior Inventory Control, Site 17. Photo taken 3 years earlier when my hair was shorter and I still tried to look awake in ID photos. I pressed it to the door reader. Denied. I tried again. Denied. I entered my override code. Invalid user. I tried the emergency release. Locked by system control. My phone still had signal. I called Harris at the front desk because his number was taped to the inside of the inventory office cabinet. It rang in my ear. Through the glass, across the floor, I could see the front desk area on one of the distant monitors mounted near security. Harris looked down at his phone. He frowned. He did not answer. He turned the screen toward another guard, shrugged, and set it down. The call ended. I called again. This time, his phone did not ring.
My screen displayed number not assigned. I looked at the office computer. It had returned to the login screen. Then, without me touching the keyboard, letters appeared in the username field. 734 Alpha. The password field filled itself with dots. The system logged in. The dashboard opened. My name was gone from the top right corner. In its place was a gray square icon and the label Unit 734 Alpha, active material. I backed away from the desk. The printer started. One sheet slid out. I did not want to touch it, but I did. It was a discrepancy form. Reported item, Lucian Pemberton. Classification, unregistered physical presence. Recommended action, inspect, replace, write off. At the bottom, where a supervisor's signature should have been, the system had printed a single line. Thank you for maintaining ledger integrity.
There was a service hatch between the inventory office and the security corridor. Harris used it when he wanted coffee without walking the long way around. Management told him to stop. He never did. The latch was old, and if you lifted it hard while pressing inward, it opened. I had never used it before that day. I hit it with my shoulder twice. On the third hit, it snapped. The corridor beyond was narrow and dim. It smelled like floor cleaner and damp cardboard.
I squeezed through, scraping my arm on the frame, and came out beside the lockers. I tried the main corridor door. Denied. I tried the break room door. Denied. I tried the security room door. It opened. Harris had left it unlocked, the way he always did when he went to smoke at 3:10. The security room was warm from the monitors. 16 camera feeds showed the building from different angles: receiving, outbound, loading bays, break corridor, office glass, main gate, sectors A through H, the freezer corridor, the old inactive sector Q.
I locked the door behind me, manually. I do not know why. Nothing in that room felt safe, but habit still worked when logic did not. I sat at the control desk and pulled up the last hour of footage from Sector G. There I was. Normal at first. I entered aisle G14 with the scanner in my right hand. The camera angle was high, mounted near the crossbeam. I watched myself stop at slot 7. On the recording, the slot looked empty. I watched my fingers curl under something invisible. I watched my arms move as I opened flaps that the camera could not see. Then my head changed. I paused the video. My body stood in the aisle, in work jacket and boots. My hands were raised, but my face was gone. In its place was a flat gray surface with the texture of cardboard. It had no eyes, no mouth, no nose, no ears. It was not a blur. It was not a sensor block. It had edges where my jaw and forehead should have been.
I touched my own face. Skin, sweat, stubble, teeth, tongue. On the screen, I had no face. I pressed play. The recorded version of me leaned closer to the invisible box. The gray surface where my face should have been folded inward for 1 second, opening like cardboard flaps. Then it closed. Then my face returned. I pushed away from the desk so hard the chair wheels hit the cabinet behind me. I wanted to stop watching, I could not. I rewound to my walk back from Sector G. On camera G09, I appeared normal. On camera G08, normal. On camera F11, normal. Then camera F11 showed the box. It was attached to my back. A gray cube rested between my shoulder blades, flat against my jacket. It had no straps. I was not carrying it. I did not react to its weight. It moved with me, fixed to my body. I stood up and tore off my jacket. Nothing was on my back. I checked the reflection in a blank monitor. Nothing. I watched the footage again. The box was there. I checked earlier footage, yesterday. I saw myself doing a normal count in Sector C. Normal face, normal body, no gray, no distortion. I checked Sunday. I was not scheduled. I checked Friday. Normal. Then I checked that morning. 8 a.m. Main gate. Harris behind the desk. Me at the turnstile. Badge up. Green light. I nodded. For 1 frame, my head became a gray surface. Then normal again. I replayed it. 1 frame. I replayed it 10 more times. The system had seen me before I saw the box. Maybe the box had not appeared because I scanned it. Maybe it appeared because I had already been selected. I switched to the live feed from the inventory office. Desk 4 was empty. My chair was on its side. The printed discrepancy form lay on the floor. Then the office door opened. A man walked in. For half a second, I thought it was me from earlier footage. Same jacket, same boots, same posture. But this
was live. He walked to desk 4, picked up the chair, set it upright and sat down. His face was mine.
The live feed had no audio, but I could see him type. He moved with small delays, not slow exactly, but corrected. He lifted my mug, examined it, and placed it back down with care. Then he turned his head toward the security camera. He smiled. It was not a wide smile. It was my polite workplace smile, the one I used when a manager asked whether a count was fixed and I wanted him to go away. The office phone rang beside him. He answered. I could not hear the call.
My phone vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. I answered because panic makes you stupid.
Lucian Pemberton speaking.
My own voice came through the phone, calm, flat, delayed by a fraction of a second. Who is this?
Lucian Pemberton speaking.
No.
Inventory control, Site 17. How can I assist?
You are not me.
Duplicate entry detected.
The live feed showed him looking directly into the camera.
Correction pending.
The security room lights went out. For 3 seconds, there was only monitor glow. Then every screen switched to the same image. Sector Q, the inactive sector. A single gray box stood in the center of the dark aisle. The top flaps were open.
I stayed in the security room until the air felt used up. That was not long. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 20. Time had already begun to lose its normal edges. The door reader flashed red every few seconds without anyone touching it. Each flash showed a message. Unregistered material. Unregistered material. Unregistered material. I searched the security software for emergency unlock. My credentials were gone, but Harris had left his session open. I tried to release the front door. The command failed. I tried Dock C. Failed. I tried the fire exit. Failed. I tried Sector Q. Gate. The button was active. I did not press it. The scanner on the desk powered on by itself. It was not mine. It was Harris's spare unit, used for checking visitor shipments. It turned toward me without moving. The screen lit gray.
Searching anomaly. I backed away. Unit 734 Alpha, identified as human. Classification conflict. Correcting. Stop. My voice shook. I hated that. I wanted to sound angry. I wanted to sound like someone with authority in the building where he had worked for 6 years. The scanner beeped once.
Decision. Replace. New unit. 734 Beta. Previous unit. Write-off. The door unlocked. That was the worst sound I had heard all day. Not the buzz of denial, not the phone line, not the scanner. The lock opening meant the building was no longer keeping me in one room. It was inviting me to move. The corridor outside was empty. I ran toward the front entrance. Every door opened before I reached it. Inventory corridor, break room, main hall, receiving lane. The building guided me through spaces I knew better than my own apartment. Workers passed within 10 feet of me and did not react. I grabbed a man named Colin by the sleeve. We'd worked the same shift for 2 years. My hand closed on fabric. He did not stop. I shouted in his face, "Colin, look at me!" His eyes moved past me, not through me, past me, like my body was a rack support or a wrapped pallet, something present but not requiring attention. I stepped in front of him. He walked around me. I shoved a plastic tote off a cart. Colin stopped. He looked at the tote on the floor. He picked it up. He never looked at me. That was when I understood that I was not invisible. I was irrelevant. The system had not erased light from my body. It had erased meaning from me. People could avoid me physically. They could move around me. They could hear objects I disturbed, but their minds did not assign me the category of person. I ran to the front glass. Outside, Harris stood by the smoking shelter. I pounded on the door until my hands hurt. "Harris, open the door! Harris!" He laughed at something on his phone. I slammed my badge against the reader. Unregistered material. I picked up a fire extinguisher and swung it at the glass. The blow should have cracked it. Nothing. I hit it again. Nothing. On the third swing, the extinguisher slipped from my hands and rolled across the floor. The scanner on my belt, the one from Sector G, beeped without being touched.
Physical resistance noted. Escalating containment. The main lights dimmed. A path of lights remained on, leading towards Sector Q. I stood there, panting, knuckles bloody, chest tight, while the building waited. Then, I saw him. My replacement walked out of the inventory office and onto the warehouse floor. He had my badge clipped to his jacket. He had my tablet under his arm. He had my scanner in his hand. His skin looked almost normal under the fluorescent lights, but the gray undertone was there. It was faint around the lips, under the eyes, at the fingertips. He stopped 20 meters away.
Lucian Pemberton,
Do not use my name.
Senior Inventory Control.
Shut up.
6 years. No unresolved discrepancies.
You do not know what that means.
Ledger integrity maintained.
His voice was mine, but each sentence landed with the same weight. No anger, no fear, no impatience, just completed information. What happens to me?
Previous unit to be written off.
I am not a unit.
Classification updated.
I stepped backward. The lights behind me flickered towards Sector Q.
Lucian Pemberton, report to Sector Q for adjustment.
The intercom had not been used in years. The voice that came through it was not human. It was assembled from system prompts, training videos, and automated safety announcements.
Lucian Pemberton, report to Sector Q for adjustment.
I ran. Not toward Sector Q, toward receiving, toward the loading docks, toward any door large enough to drive a truck through. Dock A was locked. Dock B was locked. Dock C was locked. At Dock D, a truck was backed in with its trailer open. 2 workers unloaded shrink-wrapped pallets. I sprinted between them and climbed into the trailer. The trailer was full of boxes. Normal boxes, brown boxes, labeled boxes, counted boxes. I crawled behind a pallet stack and pressed myself against the metal wall. For the first time since the office, the scanner went quiet. I held my breath. Outside, workers continued unloading. Pallets moved, plastic wraps snapped. One worker complained about his back, another laughed. The normal sounds made me want to cry because they were so close. Then, the trailer lights flickered. The labels on the boxes nearest me changed. Not physically at first. The printed barcodes seemed to darken. Numbers rearranged. Supplier names blurred. Every label became the same.
734 Alpha. 734 Alpha. 734 Alpha. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, a gray box sat at the rear of the trailer. It had not been there a second before. Its flaps were open. Inside was blackness. The trailer began to move, but no truck pulled it. The floor beneath me slid backward. The loading dock receded. I grabbed at pallet wrap and tore through plastic. The trailer interior stretched longer than it should have, more pallets appearing in the dark ahead. I knew then that hiding inside inventory was impossible. The building did not need to chase me through the warehouse. The warehouse was the thing correcting me.
I do not know how I got out of the trailer. I remember crawling, falling, hitting concrete, and hearing my own voice on the intercom again.
Adjustment overdue.
I pushed myself up. My left knee hurt. Blood had dried across my knuckles. The scanner was still attached to my belt, though I had not clipped it there. Its screen showed a progress bar. Correction, 63%. I tried to smash it against the floor. The casing cracked. The screen did not. Correction, 64%. I picked it up and threw it under a moving forklift. The forklift passed over it. The scanner appeared back on my belt. Correction, 65%. I stopped trying to break it. I went to the only place left that might have paper records older than the system, the archive cage beside management storage. It held old maintenance logs, inactive contracts, incident reports, training binders, and damaged handheld units waiting for disposal. The cage had a mechanical lock, no badge reader. My key still worked. I almost laughed when it opened.
Inside, dust covered everything. Real dust. Human dust. Old cardboard, paper, toner, dry air. I pulled boxes down and searched for employee rosters. I found incident binders from years before I started. Flood damage reports, forklift collision reports, a pest control complaint, a fire inspection failure. Nothing useful. Then I found a file labeled Q Sector Decommission, Internal Use Only. The folder was thick. The top pages were standard roof leak documentation from 5 years earlier. Water intrusion, damaged stock, mold risk, temporary closure, disposal orders. Under those was a report I had never seen. Inventory Anomaly, Q19. Date, 5 years earlier. Unregistered container discovered during routine audit. Container description, gray, unmarked, no barcode, no supplier source. Assigned temporary ID, 112 Alpha. Inspected by Martin Voss, Night Inventory Assistant. Status after inspection, employee record unresolved. My hands went cold. I flipped the page. Martin Voss, age 29, employed at Logistics City 17 for 8 months. Badge record terminated automatically due to duplicate assignment. No resignation form, no exit interview, no payroll dispute. Replacement employee entered next day under same personal details, badge accepted, performance normal.
At the bottom, handwritten in blue ink, someone had written, "Do not open second container. Do not reconcile manually." I read it 3 times. There had been another one, 5 years ago. I searched the folder for Martin's photo. There was one on an old badge photocopy. Thin face, dark hair, tired eyes. I knew that face. Not from memory as a person, from a box. A gray box in Sector Q had been marked in the old map with handwritten coordinates. Q19, Slot 3. I had passed that spot hundreds of times when Sector Q was still active. I had never known a man was inside it. A sound came from the archive cage behind me. I froze. Tap. Tap, tap. Tap.
It came from an old records carton on the bottom shelf, not gray, brown, labeled maintenance invoices. I pulled it out, tore off the lid, and found another smaller gray box inside. No label, no dust, warm. From inside came 3 weak knocks. I dropped it and backed into the cage door.
Martin? The knocking stopped. The scanner beeped. Correction, 71%. The gray box on the floor shifted. Its top flaps loosened. I ran out of the archive cage and locked it behind me. I still hear that knocking sometimes. I do not know if it was Martin. I do not know if Martin still had a name. I only know that he was there for 5 years and the building had continued operating around him. That knowledge did something to me. Until then, I had wanted to survive. After that, I wanted someone to know. I went back to the security room, because if I could not escape, I could record proof. The cameras had local backup. Harris kept an old external drive under the desk for incident exports, because management hated waiting for central approval. If I could pull the footage, maybe I could throw it outside. Maybe someone would see. Maybe someone would question why a man with my face replaced me. The security room door was open. My replacement sat inside. He watched the camera feeds with my posture, one elbow on the desk, one hand near the mouse. My mug sat beside him, though I had left it in the office. He turned when I entered.
Correction at 74%.
Move.
Resisting correction increases processing time.
Good. I grabbed the chair and pulled him backward. He was heavier than me, not stronger in the usual way, dense. His body moved wrong under my hands, as though weight had been distributed without understanding muscle. I punched him in the mouth. Pain split my knuckles again. His lip opened. There was no blood. The cut showed gray fibers under the skin. He touched the wound, looked at his fingertip, and smiled.
Damage noted.
He hit me once in the chest. I fell into the monitor desk and knocked 2 screens sideways. Breath left me. My ribs burned. He did not follow up. He did not need to. He stood between me and the export drive, patient as a locked door.
Lucian Pemberton, report to Sector Q for adjustment.
You keep saying my name because you need it.
Name assigned to active unit.
No, you are using it because you do not have one. For the first time, his expression changed. Not much, just a pause. I saw the delay become longer.
You can copy my badge. You can copy my face. You can copy my voice. But you do not know what my father called me when I was 10. You do not know why I hate the smell of cinnamon gum. You do not know which tooth is fake. You do not know what I told my mother the night my brother died.
Irrelevant data.
Then why are you listening? The monitors behind him flickered. For 1 second, every screen showed gray. Then, Sector Q appeared again. The open box waited in the aisle. The scanner on my belt reached 80%. My replacement stepped aside. That frightened me more than the punch. The system had decided I would go there without being dragged. And it was right, because by then I knew Sector Q was where the others were. It was where Martin was. It was where every unresolved discrepancy had been stored. It was the only place in the building that might still contain evidence of what Logistics City 17 had been doing for years. So I went. Not because I was brave, because every other direction had already been counted. Sector Q smelled different from the rest of the warehouse. The air was colder but stale. The lights did not come on fully when I entered. They glowed at half strength, just enough to show the old rack lanes and yellow floor markings worn pale by years of forklift traffic. The gate closed behind me. I did not turn around. The scanner read 84%. I walked past Q01, Q02, Q03. Most slots were empty, not all. In Q07, slot 5, there was a gray box. In Q011, slot 2, another. In Q013, 3 boxes stacked on one pallet. No labels, no dust, no tape. Some were warm when I passed close enough to feel them. Some knocked. Not all at once. One here, one farther down. A slow pattern spread through the aisle, as if the boxes were waking because someone unprocessed had entered. I stopped at Q019, slot 3.
The gray box there was smaller than mine had been. Its surface had faint dents, not damage from outside, marks from inside. Tiny outward bulges where something had struck the same places again and again. I put my hand on it. Warm. Martin Voss? Nothing. My name is Lucian. I found your file. A pause. Then, one knock. My throat closed. I wanted to open it. I wanted to pull him out. I wanted to believe there was still a person inside who could stand, breathe, speak, and tell me what to do. But I remembered the first box. No bottom, no walls, no air. Opening it had not freed anything. It had allowed the system to classify me. The scanner reached 90%. A gray box rolled into the aisle on a flat cart. No one pushed it. The cart stopped 10 feet away. The box was larger than the others, the exact size of the one from Sector G. Its flaps were closed. The scanner detached from my belt and fell to the floor. The screen faced up. Correction, 94%. I backed away until my shoulders hit the rack. Every box around me began to knock. Not loud, not dramatic, weak, human, fingernails and fists against impossible cardboard. I shouted over it. I am here! I hear you! The knocking grew faster. I hear you! The intercom crackled.
Unregistered material causing disruption.
They are people.
Unregistered material causing disruption.
They are people.
Correction required.
My replacement appeared at the gate at the end of the aisle. He did not enter.
Lucian Pemberton, correction required.
Come here and do it yourself.
Previous unit must comply.
That was the first useful thing it had said. Must comply. The system could lock doors. It could erase records. It could make people ignore me. It could replace me. But the final step required my movement, my approach, my contact, my compliance. I looked at the scanner. Correction, 96%. The box on the cart opened its top flaps. Blackness waited inside. No bottom, no walls, no sound. I thought about my mother. I thought about her calling me on Sundays and asking if I was eating well. I thought about my apartment with dishes in the sink. I thought about my locker, my spare socks, my bad coffee, my stupid pride and clean reports. I thought about 6 years of keeping the ledger balanced for a system that did not know the difference between a man and a misplaced carton. Then I did the only thing I could think to do. I picked up the scanner and scanned myself. The screen flashed red, invalid target. I scanned my arm, invalid target. I scanned my badge, unknown unit. I scanned the gray box on the cart, accepted.
A new screen appeared. Unit 734 Alpha ready for write-off. Confirm? Yes. No. My finger hovered over no. The boxes around me knocked harder. I understood then what Martin had tried to tell someone by tapping. There was no escape by refusal. Refusal only delayed correction. The system waited. It had years. But confirmation might create a record. I pressed no. The screen froze. Then, manual refusal logged. I pressed no again. Manual refusal logged. Again. Manual refusal logged. Again. Every refusal printed somewhere. Every refusal created a line. Every line was a trace. The scanner heated in my hand. The plastic softened. My thumb blistered. I kept pressing no. Manual refusal logged. Manual refusal logged. Manual refusal logged. The intercom voice distorted.
Compliance required.
Log this. I pressed no until the screen cracked. The correction bar reached 99%. The box on the cart moved toward me. I tried to step away, but the floor under my boots changed. The concrete softened, not melted, not liquid. It lost resistance. My feet sank an inch, then two. I grabbed the rack. The metal was cold and solid. I held on with both hands. The scanner fell into the open box and vanished without sound. The pull started at my chest. Not wind, not suction, a command in my muscles. My body wanted to bend forward. My arms shook from resisting it. The boxes around me knocked in a broken rhythm. I heard one voice, very faint, very close.
Do not let it count clean.
I do not know if the voice was real. I do not know if it was memory from the file or sound from the box, but I heard it. Do not let it count clean. My replacement stood at the gate.
Accepted 1 unit.
The pull became stronger. My fingers slipped.
Written off 1 unit.
I hooked my arm around the rack beam and screamed. My name is Lucian Pemberton, employee 044782. I refuse correction. I refuse write-off. I refuse ledger closure. The light surged. For 1 second, every scanner in the building beeped at once. Then the rack beam came loose. I fell forward into the box.
There was no falling. One moment I was in Sector Q, the next I was in the dark. I landed on my hands and knees on a surface that felt like cardboard but did not bend. The air was cold and still. I could breathe, but every breath felt borrowed. Above me, close enough to touch, was a lid. I pushed. Nothing moved. I punched. Nothing. I kicked until pain shot through my heel. The walls did not flex. I could feel the thinness of cardboard under my palms, but it held with the strength of sealed metal. I shouted, "Open it! I'm in here! I am in here!" My voice came back wrong. Not an echo, a dull return, pressed flat by the walls. Outside, I heard movement, wheels, footsteps, a scanner.
Unit contained.
No!
Ledger pending.
The box lifted. My body rolled sideways. I hit one wall, then another. It was carried or moved by something. I could hear the warehouse outside through the cardboard, clear enough to know where I was, too muffled for anyone to hear me. I screamed until my throat burned. No one answered. The box stopped. A scanner beeped again.
Location, Sector Q, Slot 22, status stored.
Another sound followed. A printer, far away. Then the intercom spoke.
Inventory adjustment complete. Ledger balanced.
The lights outside went quiet. The building settled. Forklifts moved somewhere far away. Workers shouted normal things to each other. A pallet jack squeaked. A dock door opened. Life continued. Inside the box, I pressed my ear against the wall. At first, I heard only my breathing, then tapping. 1 knock from my left, 3 from somewhere below, 2 from far away, then many. I answered. 1 knock. The tapping stopped. Then it began again, closer this time. Patient and weak. That was how I learned I was not alone. I do not know how long I have been in here. There is no proper day or night inside the box. Sometimes the warehouse sounds busy, sometimes silent. Sometimes I hear Harris laughing near the gate. Sometimes I hear rain on the roof. Sometimes I hear the ventilation hum every 17 minutes. Sometimes I hear it 3 times in what feels like 1 minute.
I do not get hungry the way I should. I get the memory of hunger. I don't sleep properly. I lose time, then wake already pounding on the wall. I have heard my replacement live my life in pieces. The morning after correction, the new shift came in. I heard the front gate. I heard Harris.
Morning, Lucian.
Morning.
You look better today.
I look employed.
Same thing.
He used my line. Not perfectly. The timing was wrong. Harris laughed anyway. Later, my manager walked the floor and checked the reports.
Excellent work, Lucian. Everything balanced. No discrepancies.
No discrepancies.
That is why I keep you here.
I pressed my mouth to the wall and shouted until my voice broke. I am here. I am Lucian. That is not me. No one heard. Or worse, they heard something, and the system told them it was warehouse noise. My replacement left at the end of shift. I heard the turnstile accept him. I heard the door open. I heard him walk into the world with my badge, my face, my voice, and enough of my habits to pass.
That night, something printed near Sector Q. A paper slid from a machine I could not see. Then an old voice from a box near mine tapped a pattern. I tapped back. 1, 3, 4. The voice came faintly through cardboard.
Did you log refusal?
I pressed my face to the wall. Yes?
How many?
I do not know. Many.
Good.
What does that do? For a long time, he did not answer.
It makes a remainder.
Can we get out? No answer. Martin, can we get out?
No clean ledger lasts forever.
That was all he said. Since then, I have waited. I knock when workers pass. I repeat my name. I repeat my employee number. I repeat every detail that still belongs to me. Lucian Pemberton, employee 044782, senior inventory control, site 17, 34 years old, mother's name Elaine, left front tooth fake, cinnamon gum makes me sick, brother's name Daniel. I am not inventory. I refuse correction. Sometimes the system answers.
Unregistered material must remain stored.
Sometimes my replacement visits Sector Q. He stands near my box. I know his footsteps now. They are almost mine, but too even.
Ledger balanced.
Not clean. He stays silent when I say that. I logged refusal. No answer. You are not complete. Still no answer. That is the only comfort I have. Not hope. Not yet. Just the knowledge that somewhere in the system, under all the clean reports and accepted counts, there are refusal logs attached to my name.
maybe hundreds, maybe enough to create a discrepancy that cannot be rounded away. And now, I hear something new. Today or tomorrow or 5 years ago, workers entered Sector Q. I heard them open the old gate. I heard my manager complain about wasted space. I heard Harris say the place gave him a bad feeling. I heard my replacement tell them the sector was ready for reactivation. Then I heard a scanner beep near the far aisle. A worker I did not know spoke.
Hey, this one has no label.
The whole sector went silent. No tapping. No breathing, no movement. The worker stepped closer.
It is warm.
I began pounding on my wall. Do not open it! Do not open it! Leave it alone! The worker did not hear me, or he did not understand. The scanner beeped again.
Unit 734 Alpha? That cannot be right.
My replacement spoke from somewhere close.
Follow procedure.
The worker hesitated.
Should I call the Zen?
Unknown packaging requires inspection.
I hit the wall until something in my hand broke. No! 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 The flaps opened. The warehouse lights flickered. A new scream began outside my box. Then the system voice returned, calm and satisfied.
In case of unregistered material, employees must notify management immediately. Failure to comply may result in automatic inventory correction. Thank you for choosing Logistics City. Protect yourself and your data.